Yeah, dude. Do you know that the podcast Your Mom's House, by the way?
Your mom's house? No, I
Yeah,
don't.
it's a podcast called Your Mom's House. It's a comedian called Tom Segura, I think, and his wife. I think her name's Christina. I don't know, but my brother's a big fan, and they do like an event where it's just like it's a pay-per-view. It's like $10 or whatever,
Mm.
and they have a guest on, and they just show all kinds of like fucked up shit, like live leak videos, and like it's seemingly just like fuck with the guest. But they had Joe Rogan on, and oh my god, that guy might be like one of the least funny comedians maybe ever. It's amazing how quickly he can take any conversation and just spin it into like cancel culture or fucking
There's
like
certain people who like that's such an obsession in their brain and they
mhm.
don't know what else to talk about.
And it seems like these people are so far down their own rabbit holes that I don't know, I could be wrong, but it seems pretty far disconnected from like the material reality of like of anyone who actually is like a working class person or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Someone who's not full time in that space.
Yeah.
Even like I because I don't even think it was something specific that Dave Rubin said, but Sam Harris unfollowed him on Twitter recently. And my
Oh,
guess is that it's not even like he like said something that pissed Sam off. He's just like bored of all this like IDW cancel culture shit. And
yeah.
it's like find a new buzzword to describe the same problem year in and year out and say that the world's about to end
Mhm.
because words.
What are your actual thoughts on cancel culture?
I think it's it's sort of I my opinion on it is that it's sort of it's almost useless to talk about it in the abstract because
Mhm.
it's so the way one views it is so aligned with their politics that
Mhm.
um we just have we all have a natural inclination to want to say like people who say things that agree with us, like we need to defend that, and we're in
Mhm.
favor of people being able to say those things, and we want people saying those things because we agree with them, and we don't want people who are saying shit that we find personally to be offensive or whatever.
Mhm.
um like so it gets to this thing where this whole obsession with removing identity politics from politics is is not just an impossible challenge, but it's a bad challenge because it's you don't want to remove the humanity from it and start treating everyone as just a fucking machine in the system. So anyways, I'm getting way too general here and way too meta. But I I just like I don't think nobody agrees on what it even means, and to the extent that we do, I don't think it exists because when's the last time someone who got canceled like had their life ruined? Um,
Mhm.
like maybe they're not allowed to. What's the worst canceling that's happened?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I have such like a recency bias thing. I mean, there's the Dave Chappelle thing, which I mean the blowback to that was I think much more serious than anyone anticipated, right? Like full disclosure, I haven't seen the special yet, but like there were employee walkouts at Netflix over that, which is probably a little bit more than they were expecting. Um, in terms of like job loss, in terms of people's like livelihoods being damaged, um, I don't know, but that's a very different thing. There's almost like there's two conversations here, right? Like the magic of the cancel culture term is conflating people um like losing their livelihood with people just getting blowback from their fucking hot takes. And those
Yeah,
don't really seem like the same thing at all.
they're very much not the same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's what it is exactly what the right does, where someone will get up on TV on the left and make some claim that they find to be heinous or evil or whatever the hell falls under their definition of
Mm-hmm.
it, and they'll go on some crazy rant about how this person shouldn't have a why does what has this person done to earn his or her platform,
Mhm.
speak about these things. They're not like it's the same spiel. And so that's where the whole thing just pisses me off. Like I don't want to talk about like to channel my inner Dave Rubin for a second here. Let's stop talking about the abstract nonsense of this, because the fact of the matter is ideas come in a wide variety. There are good ideas and there are bad ideas. And let's start having some conversations about what ideas are good and what ideas are bad. And stop talking about this abstract shit of like who's getting canceled and who's not, and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just like I couldn't care less.
okay. Do you ever feel like you're too, I don't want to say like objective oriented to kind of like engage in this conversation? Does that make sense?
Like I can't.
It's like
Essentially, what you're saying, right, is that I'm too smart for these people.
no, yeah, that's exactly what I'm. You're too much of a mega brain intellectual. No, I don't even think it's smart. It's just like I was thinking about this as it applies to me. Is just like these conversations are seem kind of so vacuous to me because it always comes back to like, all right, well, what are we supposed to do about it? And the answer just seems to be like bitch and moan more. Um, so I don't understand what the point of engaging with it is. I don't know if you feel similarly or not, or if it's just like these people are all just fucking morons, which is also
I mean,
probably true.
I think it's funny to engage with, like the
That's
people
true.
who are like this is like the IDW, the people who are all rich talking about how they're not allowed to speak, and that's how they're all rich from it. Like the hypocrisy there is so funny to me that I think it's worth our time to like harass them online. But it, again, it's one of those. It's such a disconnect from Twitter world to real world,
Mhm.
where I don't, it's such a boring answer a lot of the time, but I think it's so valid a lot of the time. Where it's like what's going on Twitter, and like the fucking what's it called, the something war,
Culture war.
culture war. Yeah, like it exists in, well, to use your, I would never use this phrase, but like it exists in a vacuum. Like it to
I
steal
feel
your
called out.
yeah, it exists like it's somewhere else, not here.
Well, I mean, it
It
does, but it
exists on the
doesn't,
internet.
right? It
What?
exists in the internet, but also if like half the country thinks that like there's a culture war going on, I don't know that it's half, but let's say it's some arbitrary percentage. Then at what point does that become like a real social construct worth engaging with, Mister Philosophy major? Riddle me that one.
Well, there's a difference between, so on the one hand, my like position on it, from a practical standpoint, is that to some certain extent, obviously, like discourse needs to happen, and we need to like keep figuring shit out through debate and
Mhm.
talking and whatever. But that's been going on forever, and that's not like a novel idea.
Right.
So when I say like something's not worth engaging with, I'm not saying like, oh, let's stop doing thinking. No
Mhm.
more thinking. No more. No new ideas. Ideas are banned, bro. Cancel ideas. I What I'm saying is like there's certain things that I think will just inevitably fade into nothingness. And
Mhm.
so my, like at some point or another, something's going to happen and no one's going to give a shit. And I don't know what's going to cause it, but something's going to happen where we're all going to look back and realize, oh, we're fighting over nothing. Um, and we'll talk about some other shit, and maybe it won't be the culture war. Maybe it'll be the, I don't know, the e-web war or some fucking join sides on the internet.
Just the next thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Because like if
yeah.
like it comes down to a question, right, of you imagine you take a scientist and throw him in a, and just for the sake of my thought experiment here, pretend that time travel works in the most simplistic way possible, Like
Mhm.
we think about it as like 3-year-olds, which wouldn't be how it would work, but like where you can like literally just hop on a machine and go back 400 years and you literally
Mhm.
are actually going backwards. If you throw a scientist and send him back a couple hundred years, it, is it worth his time to engage with flat earthers when he's the only one who's a glober? It's not worth his time.
Right.
And that has, so there's a difference between, there's certain things which I view as like inevitably will, the consensus will change, and that happens just through the fact that it's talked about so much.
Mhm.
That I don't feel like it's like a new thing that needs to be brought up, or like I have some new point on it that'll like change people's mind. Like people will accept that the earth is round just over the course of generations, as the, you know, people who are attached to the old way of thinking just die.
But if we all took that attitude, then no one would ever change their mind. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a certain balance with it, right? Because
Yeah.
to take my thought there to the extreme, it would be potentially the most arrogant and condescending way of thinking of all time, where basically it's like you think about it like leveling up. Like each time you level up intellectually, it's not worth your time to speak with anyone who's quote unquote a level
Yeah.
below you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like that's elitist bullshit. And so obviously I don't want to go there, but there's some happy medium to be had where like everyone's talking about cancel culture. I don't want to. Give me some new ideas, bro. Just give me something new to debate. It's not even whether or not, like, because I did care about it a lot for a while,
Mhm.
but like give me something new.
You can only take it so far. Yeah, I do wonder if it does seem like the golden age of the intellectual dark web is probably behind us. Um, and I say that like half jokingly, but half not. Like Jordan Peterson, like almost died and then came back, and it doesn't really seem like he has the same kind of cultural impact that he does now that he did in say like 2018 or whatever. Um, so it'll be interesting to see kind of like what new personalities pop up there. Like God knows, like Dave Rubin is not the fucking intellectual flag bearer here. Um, for all their misgivings about like the IDW, um, actually, let me ask this. Do you view those people like Jordan Peterson and Brett Weinstein and even Sam Harris as like a quote unquote gateway to the right, as some on the left would have you believe that they are?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Explain.
Well, I think that question is sort of, that question implies that they're not right wing.
That's true. But I think,
and all of
yeah.
them, except for Sam, everyone in the IDW, everyone who was claimed by the IDW, however that process worked,
Mhm.
except for Sam, was a Trump supporter. So there's no, this isn't like a, they aren't like, they're further right than the Lincoln Project. So
That's a good point.
This is like saying, like, is coffee a gateway drug to caffeine? What is that?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess the one exception there in my mind was and I genuinely don't know, was Peterson like a vocal supporter of Trump?
You know, that's an interesting question, and I bet he always dodged it.
Mhm.
But he certainly never described himself as left leaning or liberal or anything. He aligned more conservative in his obsession with words like freedom
That's
and
true.
those kind of
Yeah.
things. So and his whole shtick is about like self, like it's all about the individual.
Mhm.
And individualism, and so it just, and he would go on Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin, and
Mhm.
Jordan Peterson wasn't hopping on the Young Turks or Majority Report or
Mhm.
Secular Talk or any of those. Like,
True.
and I don't think it was for lack of certainly not for a lack of invites. Like from their perspective, of course, they want the clicks.
Right.
Like he's just a right winger, and I don't think that there's any. He would be like, no, you can't put me in a box like that, or whatever. Or like, no, you can't
No
put me in a
way.
box like that.
And
No.
people try to break it down, but it's like, no way, man. Like, it's not that simple. It's not. And what these
Really
leftists, thanks.
It's not. I can't even come close.
You sounded like
I just
some
go
kind
high
of like
pitched. I don't know
Roald
where else to
Dahl
go.
character there. And what we're talking about, right? It's like dominance hierarchies, and these are things that exist everywhere, everywhere. And to not recognize them, it's madness, it's chaos. Yeah, I don't know. One of the accusations that I do see leveled at Jordan Peterson, and I guess the rest of those people as well, is that like gateway to the right, okay, as previously established, like they are right wing by I think most reasonable definitions. Gateway to the alt right, however, how do we feel about that?
Yes, in the way that I don't know. It's sort of, gosh, is my conclusion going to be on everything just useless, which is lame and boring? But it's like, at a certain point, this question becomes, and I'm not trying to like downplay your question or say that you're asking a stupid question, but at a certain point, it's like if you're born, imagine someone who's born in like a conservative right-wing household in Mississippi or something like that. All they've ever known are like the Mississippi working class right or something.
Yeah.
To that person, you know, Van Jones or Chris Cuomo is a gateway to socialism. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Gotcha.
So it's like yes, but no, but because it gets into the same complexities where it's like the left as I would call the left as someone who's like a online e-commie or whatever you want to call me. Like there it's not as if there's no overlap between me and like the center of the or the right wing of the Democratic Party. It's not as if there's no overlap there, and there are certain ideas which from a intellectual perspective where we're not talking about policy where we fundamentally agree. So does that make does that make CNN a gateway to socialism? No, but yes, but no. And I would argue that the IDW is much closer to the alt-right than CNN is to Bernie or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the difficult thing about specifically the IDW is like what kind of what truths are they operating under, and what is their kind of shared ideological ground? I'm really asking because like I'm not really sure exactly.
I really think it fundamentally comes down to they've found a few things, free speech being one of them, to just obsess over. And it's the same boring like fear-mongering tactic that has worked throughout all of history, where you convince the masses that a problem which isn't actually the problem is the problem, and because it's not actually fundamentally the problem, it's never going anywhere. If it was an actual problem, like it would get solved at some point. This is where we get into a philosophical what I consider to be interesting conversation, which you kind of alluded to early in the conversation, where it's like there's this how do we come to understand progress in the sense that when you look over the course of history, it seems inevitable. Yet if you view it as inevitable, then why would anyone work towards progress?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dilemma. But shit, I forgot what I was even fucking talking about. What triggered me to start going down or bring that up? What did you ask?
Fuck, honestly, I don't remember. Something. All right, slippery slope argument.
Progress, fucking shit. Oh, it had to do with the common ground of the IDW.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fuck.
So anyways, so the point being is that if there's no actual if cancel culture, for instance, or free speech isn't actually being like like free speech as, you know, is your God-given right. Um the federal government's not like cracking down on Ben Shapiro. Um so there's no issue there, but if you tell a certain percentage of the public that it is, then you can just talk about it forever and make an endless money.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you can also, you do it long enough, you begin to convince yourself that it actually is the problem. And
Mhm.
so you live in this world, this just literal alternate universe where you've convinced yourself, one, that you are morally superior to everyone around you in order to keep living a lifestyle that is built upon bullshit.
Yeah. So that kind of like raises a follow-up question. Do you think these people, I guess in the IDW, but maybe a little more broadly than that, do you think they buy what they're selling?
I Yeah, yeah. It's a weird question, right? Because you think back on did you ever go through a phase in high school or maybe even early in college or something where your politics were vastly different than they are now?
Um, that's an interesting. I feel like I think about that a lot, and in some ways, yes, but in other ways, no. Um, yeah, yeah. I think we could say that at points in the past they were like fairly different than they are now. I
Or
think I
maybe
was.
even like what about like a specific issue? Is there a specific issue you've changed your mind on?
Um, let's see. I was probably, I think, much more like culturally conservative when I was like, um, I don't know, like 15 or so, and then I kind of like, I don't know what happened, but I was red pilled and then I became blue
Hmm.
pilled. So yeah, there you go.
Well, I guess the point what I'm getting at is when you look back in retrospect upon, so I I think that, and I know this is going to sound self-absorbed or whatever, but I think that I'm a great example of this. Like I'd be a great case study in that,
Mhm.
like, I in 2016 I voted for Bernie in the primaries, and then come general election time I started watching a bunch of like last liberal YouTubers who
Mhm.
hated Bernie but were all like rah rah pro war, pro Hillary. And so I convinced myself by the time of the general, for the most part, that even if Bernie was on the ticket, I would be voting for Hillary. And then after Trump got elected, I started down like the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder and all that. And
Mhm.
like I remember thinking to myself at the end of freshman year, like damn, I think I'm a conservative now, and like I probably would have voted for a Republican. And and since then I've completely 180 back to my socialist roots. So I've been all over the map. And some of that you could just say is as simple as the psychology of wanting to always be on the winning side,
Mhm.
um, which is probably somewhat at play. But I certainly in 2020 I wasn't like happy about Joe Biden as like, so anyway. So I think I've maybe grown past that slightly, or that's not the entire explanation. But the point
Mhm.
being is that the point I was trying to get at is more like when I think back to myself and when I fundamentally like thought that the IDW had everything figured out and like that was my life,
Mhm.
was Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire. And did I really believe the things? Did I really believe those things at the time, or was I just spewing bullshit because it like I knew that that was a safe place to be as like a shy, essentially incel at that point. Like in freshman year, I wasn't getting laid. I wasn't
Jesus.
talking to women. Like I'm not like the most. I wasn't like the most loser ever. Um,
No,
but
because you looked pretty cool from the outside looking in.
yeah, but like I didn't like up until that point in my life, like, and I know I'm probably extreme, and this isn't the case for everyone, but like I hadn't like been on like a date yet, um, and so
Mhm.
it, as a way of like, so this is where like one needs to have somewhat of like this is where psychology is important, like because it's a tough question for me as to whether or not I actually believed it at the time, or whether or not I did a good enough job of convincing myself that I wanted to believe it, that I then believed it. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Like,
think that at some fundamental level, that's what's going on with all these people, is that they're so lost in what they want to believe because it supports some insecurity or some clinging thing they're holding on to, that they've convinced themselves they've believed it. So in a way, both yes and no. I don't think that they're, in other words, I don't think that they fundamentally view, like, none of them are like socialists voting for Bernie and then they're like,
right.
all right, I'm going to make money today by going in line and talking about how much socialism is going to end the world. It's not that obvious, but I still think that fundamentally a lot of them actually don't believe what they're saying, even though they've convinced themselves they believe it.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting thought. Here's something you touched on. How many of these guys online who are like really into this shit just like haven't ever gotten laid? Like, because the more I talk to people, like, it seems so stupid, but this seems to be a common denominator. And I knew it was for me when I was at my most red pilled, not talking to women, Um, how much of that is just like born out of like insecurity? I guess the easy answer is just all of it, but that seems
I think it's a lot of
intellectually
it,
lazy. Yeah.
because being young, universal truth for like young guys growing up is, oh, like, there's that coming of age thing where there's so many conflicting things going on, and like, we're fucking getting boners 20 times a day, yet
Uh-huh.
we can't grow facial hair and look like a little kid, and like there's just like a bajillion different things going on. And throughout like most of history, right, guys were sort of, there weren't other, you weren't talking on the phone or like making jokes on Twitter, like everything was just focused around, like, everything was centered around person to person interaction.
Right.
And so it's not to say that the world was better, because it clearly wasn't. But I think that it's an easy fallback for a lot of guys who don't want to go through the inevitable hard process of learning what it is to like communicate with other human beings like an adult. And that process sucks, and it's hard, and it's shitty. And I figured it out by being in like a 2.5-year toxic relationship myself. And it's not like I've figured it out, but I needed to go through that in order to learn a lot of this shit about myself. And yeah, I do think that the the IDW might be at a loss for, they would have to find a new topic if they couldn't target like 17-year-old boys who've never kissed a girl yet and are insecure about it and like want to be mad online.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And that's and counterpoint here. I have sometimes felt like there is no place on the left for specifically like young men to kind of like go and fit in and have like healthy masculine role models who like aren't like conservative demagogues.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that
Yeah.
assessment, or do you think I'm off base there?
I do agree. I think that it can be, so yeah, we all have there's a reason we cling on to like what's that Twitter account you sent me? The one that's all about like maximizing women and
Fucking
Tao shit.
alpha power, whatever the
Yeah,
fuck. Yeah.
whatever the hell. There's a reason that stuff, like, there's a biological and social and a bajillion different things that come together to create like horniness in dudes. And and so there's lots of natural feelings of both aggression and like needing to be like alpha male and all this shit. And we can, and instead of, now this is where I'm about to get real cucked here, instead of dealing with any of our like insecurities in a in discussion format or an opening up or any shit like that. It's just much
Mhm.
easier to say, like, the hunter gatherer sigma male is like all these memes that we've laughed at for 10 years of
Yeah.
our lives about the like ideal sigma male. This is what peak performance looks like. Like, it's funny to us because there's a simplicity to it that we want to just like accept. And
Mhm.
so when we're going through down periods in our life, is tends to be when we most convince ourselves that that is just like, this is the way. Fucking Pedro Pascal. This is the way. um, and so that's my. So then you inevitably run into a problem, right? Where like a young kid who maybe doesn't have a ton of friends in school or is struggling with his mental health, this, that, or the other thing, it's such an easier sell, the right wing pitch of just like self help, go to the gym, eat healthy, invest your money in fucking Robin Hood, make Tao, just get laid every night and never be in a relationship. Like to its extreme, it's not an easy sell, but like that
Mhm.
path is such an easier sell than like, all right, let's sit down and have a conversation where we talk about what it means to like, where we talk about the reality um, of
Masculinity in the
yeah,
21st
like
century or
yeah, like
whatever.
what that
Yeah.
means and how we can both at the same time be like masculine in the alpha powerful sense. Like how is that compatible with recognizing like, okay, yeah, like I don't know, I don't want to use buzzwords, but like rape culture or any of those like shit like that, just like there's some truth behind some of it, I guess is the
Mhm.
easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
Like how do we confront those things? And if you're on the left, like you've got to confront them, and that's a harder
Mhm.
sell to little kids.
Yeah, that's
Little
very true.
17-year-old Bobby. It's like,
Yeah.
I just want to go lift hard.
You just want to go lift hard and have sex. In a way, it almost feels like, not to get too into Jungian psychology here, but it almost feels like uh, the right, or not the right, sure, we'll go with that, that the right has kind of crafted this archetype of the Sigma male, which, men can attach themselves to in like the 21st century, like alpha, sigma, whatever. Like these are all like clearly like archetypes, right, that we can see in ourselves and seek to emulate. And the left has just like not done that, which on one hand is good because those things are kind of dumb, but on the other hand, not having some kind of like platonic ideal to aspire to might not actually be a good thing. um
Yeah.
I don't know, do you think
Yeah,
that's
we need to introduce a little more uh based isms back into the normal left discourse. Like yeah, it just like it I don't know. There's like discussions about like looking good and feeling good and being healthy and shit.
Mhm.
Um like the left backs itself into a corner when we start
Mm.
like promoting fat people like as if it is some sort of like acceptable thing. Um when it's just inherently not healthy and not good. Yeah, so like you can always push it too far.
Mhm.
Um and there needs to be more people on the left who are just like, no, like that being unhealthy is being unhealthy. We should strive to be
It's
healthy.
not good, we should be healthy.
Um and it's not a case of being it's an entirely different it because there's no science to back up any sort of right-wing tropes about race or I don't want to even fucking go there, but like the just it could not be more clear that being overweight leads to an infinite number of health issues both physically and mentally.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
so this isn't a matter of like denying science. In fact, at its most basic form, it's just like, but that doesn't mean that there aren't also like toxic and unhelpful ways to, um, like not actually solve the problem.
Solve the problem. Like just going up to fat people and be like, listen, you fat fuck, it's calories in, calories out. Get that through your fat fucking head. Like it doesn't change anyone's mind about anything.
But
I mean, even if it is it is funny, although they might disagree with you. But there's a much more like complex process of like behavioral change there that needs to happen, and like habit formation and blah blah blah. All this boring shit that's like way harder to meme than just eat less, you fat fuck. Just go to the gym. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, were it so easy in a sense. So, there's yeah, like you said, there's helpful and not so helpful ways of attacking that problem. But just because that like one side has latched onto unhelpful ways doesn't mean that you have to just pretend that the problem doesn't exist as a form of like political opposition.
Yeah. Yeah. And there seems to be, this is where the left needs to find the angle, and I don't know what it is, but the narrative out there, right, is that like leftism is for lazy people and for like fat slobs who never want to work, but don't want to do anything for themselves. And I think that there's a big, and so that leaves right wingers in the place of being able to snatch up all these young, whatever, like people who get addicted to like the self-help shit, like whatever that is in life, where you make your bed every morning and lift every day and 20 vegetables, or fucking, I don't know, 20 vegetables, 20 servings. There needs to be like some sort of like easy way to attract people. Like the left needs to find a better way of saying like, no, like both the ideas we're behind and what we support is not incompatible with like you working hard to achieve whatever goals you lay out for yourself. Like we don't actually, the science or whatever you want to describe it is actually pretty clear that like sitting around and being fed things is not good for mental health. It's and that's not debatable. It's just not good for you. But we're more about just a level of like fairness here and coming from a somewhat even playing field and being able to like have the opportunity to go pursue the things and put in the work that you want to put in.
Yeah.
And so making it easier for certain people doesn't take away from it. Socialism isn't going to like, it's not steroids. Like you just because socialism starts doesn't mean like being 8% body fat and yoked is like easy. Like, but somehow we like the internet will tell you that like you can only be a lifter bro if you're like a right wing edgelord.
It is really weird how those things get conflated. And I think it's because like lifting is such like a comparative, I don't want to call it like an easy journey, but it's pretty straightforward. You just got to be disciplined and you just got to like keep hammering away at the problem, which is that you're not as, as fit as you want to be. And eventually you'll, make headway towards where you want to go. Problems in the real world more often than not are not like that. The solution isn't easy to find. There's a lot of shit in the way in terms of like actually solving the problem, be they institutional or personal or whatever. And you can't just keep like chipping away and kind of making like forward progress in that same kind of way. So that kind of like overly, I don't want to call it, I guess I'll just call it like that overly simplistic mindset isn't really helpful for solving real world problems, and also doesn't recognize that like look, we can demonstrate empirically like in the same way that like if you're a lifter bro and like maybe you have phenomenal genetics and you just fucking start lifting and you're like yoked after like a couple of years versus a guy who's like grinding for 5 and gets mediocre results. If you can understand that concept, then the concept of just like, well, not everyone's on a level playing field, it doesn't really seem all that hard to grasp. Again, I feel like not to misuse the is ought vocabulary again, but it's almost like a failure of imagination where I don't know if you've like every time I talk to like my conservative relatives, it always comes back to like, well, this is how it is, and like blah blah blah. It's like, all right, great, but and they end up kind of not really making any claims about like the world they would like to see or like what that looks like, and just like, well, I'm dealing with reality and you're off in fantasy land. Which is funny, knowing me in particular, because I feel like my critiques of things try to be as like objective. Yeah, I was going to say objective, and I don't mean that as in like in a philosophical sense, but as in like let's develop objectives and then like try and get after them as a society to like make, you know, a world that we want to live in.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how frequently people go there, but it's so easy to, it's hard to word it in a way that's effective, but once you grasp how dumb that is, then you can never forget it, because you're getting caught in the loop of the way things are is how they are, therefore we need to operate based off of how things are, never allows for
yeah, it's a fucking circle, dude. It just doesn't go anywhere.
Because if that really was how the world operated, and you know, you just need to be realistic and like, you know, giving people healthcare or whatever, like, you know, that's great that you want that, but in the world we live in, you know, it's such an easy historical thing to look back on and just be like, all right, imagine you as the 70-year-old grandpa in 1860 who was like, that's great, you want to free the slaves, but the way the world is, like, the southern economy will go to shit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's just boring, man. Like, it's not boring. It's just like, it's the same tired, the way things are is the way they've been, and this is how it happened to fucking me, and it's gonna happen to every other motherfucker if I have anything to say about it. I went through this goddamn bullshit, and the rest of you motherfuckers have to go through this bullshit. It's like, you're not talking about the idea, bro. You're not
talking about the ideas. And what compounds this problem is that the way I think about it is you have to have an idea of where you are, the constraints that have resulted in the world getting to where it is now and where you want to go, and how to either operate within those constraints or bend them such that you can eventually achieve the objective of where you want to go. The problem is that, and this is, I've talked to people like this, and we both know them, is that there are people on the left who just straight up like refuse to take kind of like a measured, objective view of what those constraints are. Like, I'll just use the classic example of just like, ooh, why can't we just like print more money? To like, like the economy is not real. Like, we can just print more money, which, by the way, to some extent is kind of true. We can print more money, or so it would seem, without causing kind of the inflation that like older models would predict. But like, you can't just print infinite money. Like, there is a limit there.
But you can.
Well, you can, but you probably shouldn't, because if you accept the idea that, like, again,
paper, dude.
What are they doing? Dude, you can make so many fucking books. Think of all the
infinite money. Think of how useless it would be.
Dude, we could burn it like Joe Kerr in the Dark Knight.
That would be.
We could have giant bonfires.
Society.
We would truly live in a society. Yeah, but no, it's just like, there's just basic, and I see this a lot coming from like my
can I just like interject for a second?
Yeah, sure.
How many adults throw out the idea as if they think they're solving the problem that we should just print more money?
Not that many. I'm using kind of like
I know you're using it.
A deliberately silly example here, right? But I think the classic example is like, well, if you look at the homeless problem we have in America compared to how many houses we have, then it's like, well, we could house all the homeless people, which is technically true. But the follow-up question is like, where are the people and where are the houses? Because that kind of matters. Like, you can't just fucking throw people into like, you know, a house that's been abandoned since 2008 in like North Dakota or something, and just be like, well, you're not homeless now. Like, you solved the problem on one level, but I guess what I'm saying is you have to recognize that like how we got here and that you can't just look at those two numbers side by side and say like, look, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Like there are legitimate policies that
So I guess my response would be, you think about the things that the government is able to do. And when you
mhm,
throw the government behind some project and you invest some amount of money, if Joe Biden had a gun to his head,
mhm.
and you imagine every congressperson and U.S. senator all of a sudden magically had guns pointed at their heads and said, if you don't solve homelessness in the next year, you all die. Homelessness would get solved in a year.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
it's an achieve the point. There are certain levels of injustice which are so extreme, and I think homelessness falls under this category. That 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 talking about it in sort of the abstract, in the way that we can imagine, it would take a lot of fucking work, and it wouldn't involve making a lot of money for anyone really. Um, but if we're capable of going to the moon, if we're capable of inventing atomic bombs, we're capable of putting everyone in a goddamn home. And so talking about like constraints as to how to get there is, it, to a certain extent, is just falling back upon the same, like, this is just the way things are. And
No,
it's
no,
like,
no.
at a certain, and I know you're not going, I know that's not
Mhm,
the point you're trying to make, but I think the people who are tempted to make that argument, it, they can't justify, if like it, we physically can fix the problem. And I think that
yes.
certain levels of injustice require action regardless of whether or not it's as simple of a solution as it may be necessarily immediately seems.
Mhm,
We know that implementing anything on a federal level is massively challenging. It requires a
mhm,
lot of planning. And something as simple as sending everyone a COVID check, when you think about it and get into the nitty gritty of it, it's not just as simple as sending everyone $1,600. It's really fucking complicated to make that
mhm.
work. Does it mean that we shouldn't have sent everyone $1,600? No, I mean, we probably should have sent people more, but like, at a certain point, something's so fucked that like, you just fucking fix it.
You just have to do something. Yeah, I get what you're saying here. So I'll just start with the fact that, like, yes, if you change the incentive structure of government from like running for reelection to you will die in a year if you don't fix the problem. If you radically change incentive structures, like surprise, surprise, you get different outcomes. Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Um, and it physically could be done, and I would argue it should be done. Although, what I'm criticizing is the cursory look at an issue that just says like, oh well, we have the houses, so clearly it's just like we're just choosing not to do this. And on some level, that is kind of true. We have the resources in the abstract, and we are choosing not to solve this problem.
Hmm.
But I think the way to solve the problem is something more in line with like investment in mental health infrastructure, drug decriminalization, even like changing zoning laws, just allowing more housing units to be built so that prices fall. Shit like that. Just my critique here is much more so saying that just like, look, two numbers, this number bigger than other numbers, so solve problem. We're choosing not to do so.
Hmm.
Um, it's a little bit it's too 1D. So at least let's think 2D here.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
I,
saying.
and I'm not saying that there aren't like people out there who disagree with you. There definitely are. Well, I guess my point is, who are you engaging with who's throwing out that simplistic of an idea? I think in large part you're debating like kids in college or something, right? It, it,
I'll tell you off air who I was arguing about, but I had another follow up conversation about insurance and how it's like a capitalist construct or whatever.
oh, I probably even know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's a tough one, right? Because I know this isn't like your intention of what you're doing, but the whole like muddying the waters thing and being like, we can't solve this problem because it's more complex than you're laying it out as,
Hmm.
is a way of stopping any kind of progress. And you can throw it at any problem. That, okay, great, you've identified a problem.
Hmm.
If you can't come back at me with a 180-page detailed report of how this will be fixed, then I don't want to hear it. It's not worth talking about. It's like, okay, well, we can both agree that that's also stupid. Just
Yeah.
because homelessness is more difficult to solve than, oh, we've got lots houses, put people in
Hmm.
house. Um, like it, the people who I think who genuinely want to get rid of homelessness are the people who are most willing to, given the opportunity, would say like, all right, let's fucking sit down and figure out all this shit, and like let's take care of decriminalizing drugs. Like, let's take care of the abusive system we have of landlords getting to treat their fucking,
Yeah.
you know,
No, but
it, let's deal with
yeah.
these things and get it done. And that's great that you're pointing out each time you point out a complication. That's great, but let's at least just get the ball rolling. Let's deal
Right.
with the easy shit first, and then when we get to the more complicated shit, we figure it out then. And we just keep going, and we recognize that everyone in theory agrees, right, that homelessness is an injustice. I'm sure like there are some people who like work for Ben Shapiro who would disagree and say like that they're just, lazy people
But
deserve
like
to suffer or something.
90% of the country, yeah,
But
will agree with you on
yeah,
that one.
so do, just because I can't in 5 sentences explain to you how we solve the problem doesn't mean we don't start right now. And there are things we can do
Yeah.
right now which will make it closer to solving the problem.
Yes.
And with each step you get closer, you run into a new problem, and
Hmm.
then you solve that problem. And you keep
Hmm.
going and going and going, but it's always just a delay tactic.
Hmm.
And it pisses me off because I think a lot of people, particularly on the right, who throw that kind of shit out, they're throwing it out because they don't want to change the system as is, and they don't want to change the
Hmm.
status quo. And they're bullshitting you when they say they're committed to the idea of removing homelessness or guaranteeing health care to every person who lives in this
Hmm.
country, because they want to say that they're for those things whilst also maintaining the uh, their, you know, bubble of a
Yeah,
world.
for sure. Yeah. It's again, it's part of the grift, right? Is it like intellectually that they think that maybe deep down that they do support those things, but when push comes to shove, like they absolutely do not, or at least they don't seem to. Maybe it's the other way around. Like they don't, they actually like deep down think that like, yeah, homeless people are all like lazy fucks or whatever. But then they have to pay lip service to the idea like, of course homelessness is bad, but like decriminalizing drugs, like building more housing, like come on, get out of here. Like get real, kid.
Yeah, well,
Shit like
just
that.
fucking work hard like me. And it's like, this is, yeah, it's just frustrating, man, because no one's saying it, no one's, well, there are some people saying this. A lot of people work really hard. Some people don't work hard. But the majority of people in life have to work really fucking hard,
Mhm.
regardless of their wealth. uh, Life is just, it's fucking hard. And no one's saying, it, this is where the left needs to do a better job of messaging. We're not saying that you, as a working class, maybe you're raising a family on an $80,000 income or something. Um, no one's saying you're not working your ass off.
Mhm.
we're we're saying that there are people who are being born into situations where they don't even have the ability to work their ass off to get to where you are
Right.
at.
Right.
They it's not in their power to do so. There's
Mhm.
no amount of work they can do to get there.
Right.
So this isn't this isn't about laziness. um it it's all like fear mongering and shit.
Mhm.
Whatever. People need to be given the option to go work their butt off in the gym. It like, or whatever example you want to use.
Right. First, you have to have access to a gym.
Yeah,
Like step one.
it'd be like if only rich people had access to weights and they were being, you can get the same place with calisthenics. You just got to work harder.
Like,
Just
okay,
work
yeah,
harder.
true, but yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Fuck off. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
you're not fucking wrong. I can get really ripped on calisthenics, but be pretty make my life a little fucking easier if I had a, barbell lying around.
An easy way to load things. Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've kind of run the gamut on this one. I don't know if, frankly, I don't know if I have any more to say. I just want to clarify that I was not trying to muddy the water specifically on the homelessness thing. I do have, at least what are in my head, pretty concrete policy proposals of things that we could do right now that would like move the ball. But I will say real quick is that like it is important because there are a small contingent of like Twitter crazies on the left who are like, no one should have to work in an ideal society and like shit like that. And that drives me fucking crazy. And I think that it's important that we denounce these people just as a movement and just don't give that any credence. It's not part of the message that we want to send. It's not part of the message that frankly 90% of this country wants to hear, left, right, whatever. It's just no one outside of like these echo chambers is on board with that. So I think it's important that we push those people away, as kind of brutal as that sounds.
Yeah. Can it wait like 5 minutes? Yeah, I am. The epic interruption.
Do you need me to vamp on the mic for like 5 minutes?
Mom, I'm recording.
I
can't pause an online game, Mom.
I can't pause the podcast.
I'm gonna come eat my pizza. I know you made it for me, Mom.
Is that actually what happened? Did your mom make you pizza? Oh, that's nice of her. All right, here, go.
Go eat your goddamn dinner. I made it for you. And I'm like, I've had pizza for a week straight.
Pizza every day, son.
Yeah, my stomach is not happy with me at all.
Because of all the pizza? Are you OGing on pizza?
Well, because I'm starting this new job next week, so I'm on like the Noah path with what he did before he started working this summer, where I'm just like, okay, I'm bulking, and I know that I have a job lined up. Why would I not get high every night for 14 straight days leading up to that and just eat like shit? Why would
that's a great idea. Wow.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't do that. And the one good reason is that if you were to just listen, you would not be able to distinguish as to whether or not I am shitting or pissing. They sound the same. It's just pure liquid at this point. My stomach is in shambles.
It sounds like a pretty good reason to stop. Why are you doing this to yourself, dude?
But like, I'm gaining weight. I'm getting stronger. And I know I'm about to start a full-time job where I know there's no question in my mind. I know that I have the willpower to stop. And that I'm going to only do it on weekends once I start working. And this is the last time until I retire. Probably. It'll have like a stretch where like I'm not working and I don't have to like, there's nothing to worry about.
How much nah, never mind.
I'm not currently employed by anyone.
Right.
But there's
Jay chilling. Yeah.
Like I can just do whatever I want with my time for this week. And probably
dude, how are you not a higher level in COD? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, I've been doing music. I've been going to the gym.
Okay, fair. But like, come on,
living life. I've been watching lots of hockey, betting on a lot of hockey, making some money, losing some money. You're
living the Dave Portnoy lifestyle.
Yeah, being fucking mad over the fact that my ex is in a relationship and that it is what it is, and we work through that. So that's been pissing me off over the weekend, but it's been good motivation. I've had good lifts. I'm just like, I'll be like, dude, if you get this extra rep out, like that guy's gonna die. And that literally is like the mind. I'm like, and it works. So yeah, I've had a good week, but next week, like, adulthood starts and depression starts and different kinds of depression.
No,
Now
depression.
there's like I'm not doing anything with my life besides being a meme lord and bulking and eating just the shittiest diet of all time and gaining just too much weight too fast. But
Think of how strong you'll get, though.
dude, my lifts are going up. I'm not setting PRs, but I'm like, the lifts go up every time. I mean, it almost feels like I'm in like fun newbie lifter land again, where like every time I go to bench, I can put more weight on the bar.
Yeah, dude. That's what's up.
But I think I've been, without realizing it, I was way skinnier. Kind of skinnier. I was skinnier than I thought I was. So, and that was hurting I think that was hurting my lifts a lot.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure. If you
skinnier than I realized.
Yeah, my perception of skinny changed completely when I worked that previous job, and everyone just kept calling me a stick. And I was like literally heavier than I had ever been at my height. I'm like 6'1". I was like 195. They're like, you need to gain weight. You need to gain weight. And I got up to like 215, and all of my lifts were just like fucking through the roof. Everything felt like amazing.
I'm up at 170 now. I'm solidly in the 170s. I've weighed in the 170s for the last like 3 or 4 days.
225 or bust.
No. My goal is to not go over. Depends how far I push this. Let's see. It's basically December 1st. I'm going to give quick weekly updates on the bulk each week.
Okay.
I'm probably going to be bulking through, let's see, December, January, February, March. When do I want to start a mini cut? If I'm doing just a mini one, do I want to give myself April, May, 2 months?
Okay, so here's the math. So how many pounds on average are you gaining a week?
I'm going to keep hard bulking for 4 more months and then do like a 2-month cut.
Yeah, so that'll be, we'll say
so
that's
I'm at
about
170 now. What should be my target weight at the end of March?
Honestly, dude, I would just bulk to a point where you're like, I am uncomfortably fat. And then not I say that like it's bad. Whatever the threshold is where you're like, I've gone too far. I would say
already at that point. I'm too
okay. All right. Well,
shitting liquid.
Well, all right. Well, that's a diet
just
issue, dude.
That's because I eat like 2,000 calories worth of cookies a day.
All right, hold on. Let me do the math real quick. So, your starting weight was
164.
164. You jumped like 3 pounds almost immediately.
Yeah, I hopped on creatine again. I started eating a lot. Lifting like 6 days a week. And
do you keep
very strict about it?
Okay. Do you keep a weight log?
Yeah, I weigh myself every day. But
do you like write it down somewhere?
Yeah. I haven't been perfectly consistent with always. Sometimes I weigh myself after I've had breakfast, and sometimes I weigh myself before I've had breakfast. And I know that can.
Yeah, that's fucking you up. Here's what I would do if I were you: is put your scale right next to your toilet, and then when you get up in the morning and take a piss, immediately weigh yourself.
Still, sometimes I'm too lazy.
Oh my god, I don't know if I can solve this, dude. But your data is fucked.
Here's how I'm thinking about it. I don't care if my weekly average is off by 2 pounds.
You
should care about is the long term. Like,
yeah, but like a weekly.
I don't care if in reality I actually was, my average from last week was like 168.4. If that's missing by a pound, I don't give a flying fook. What I care about is that in 4 months, I'm averaging like 195 or whatever the number is that I want.
Okay, well, I think in that case, a realistic weight gain rate would probably be between like half a pound and a pound per week. So we'll go 0.75 pounds a week over 16 weeks is 12 pounds. Is that math right?
Yeah, I'm going to gain more than 12 pounds. I think.
But also think about this. As soon as you start cutting, you're going to like, dude, you can't have it both ways. You're like, I want to stay lean-ish. I also want to Chad.
I don't want to say lean-ish. I don't want to get. I'm far from being fat.
Okay,
but I'm happy to toe the line more than I ever have.
Okay.
I want to get to a point where I can't wear tank tops or sleeveless shirts in the gym because it won't like I want to look significantly better in t-shirts than I do in tank tops, and I've never even reached that point. So
Okay. Well, you know what? All I got to say is just like when you hit that point, you will know. I feel like me giving you a weight target, I'm just going to anchor you to a number in your head. I'm just realistically, I think you can get to 200. That's really what I think.
4
I could
months,
be
30 pounds.
I'm not saying you should try to do that, but I'm saying if you had like an indefinite time scale and you never had to cut, I think you could get to 200.
Dude,
Now,
I think
will you? I don't
we should
know.
run a Super Bowl ad where it's like me and it's like 4 months, 30 pounds. Can you believe it? This new trick will, and then at the end it's just I gained 30 pounds.
No, honestly, yeah. I mean, rule of thumb, I would say pound a week while you're bulking. I think you can do that.
we I should start selling programs where my before and after photos are actually my after and before photos.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be epic.
I'll have to.
I'm gonna try and I really don't. I wish I had been writing down my weights forever because I really don't think I've ever been heavier than 185. I'm not even sure I've reached 180. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I probably have,
Anecdotally,
but
throughout
also
college,
maybe not.
I can never remember you telling me that you weighed any more than 180. So take that for what it's worth.
I can guarantee that I've never gotten close to the 190. So I think if I hit 190, I'll be content.
You got to
I'll
hit.
cut
Yeah.
down to like probably, well, whatever. Anyways, point being is I'm gonna let's say this at bare minimum I'm gonna hit 190 by the end of March.
All right, hell yeah, dude. I like that. That's ambitious.
Fucking,
You can do that. What are your goal lifts? Not necessarily one rep max, but like ballpark it if you had to.
I think as far as goals to achieve by the end of this bulk, I want to do basically one less plate than like the ideal and be able to like not like do multiple reps of 225 bench, 315 squat, and 405 deadlift.
Yeah, that seems. I think that's entirely doable.
Does that make sense? What
Yeah.
said?
Yeah. So hitting like sets of like 5 to 10. Yeah, 225, 315, and 405 respectively.
I don't think I'm gonna want to do 10 sets of 405 or 10 reps. Maybe I could do 10 reps of 405 on.
Dude, high rep deadlifts suck.
10 reps on deadlift.
It's horrible.
I do like the max I go. I use the hex bar, and the max I go is 8, and that just sucks.
Yeah, it's awful.
My 8 rep day is significantly worse than my 5 rep day on that one.
Yeah.
Also, quick note before we log off, I skipped my lift Saturday. It's the first time since I've started my bulking that I skipped a lift. I got lazy and I just skipped it post Thanksgiving hangover or whatever. In reality, it was actually depression about learning the maxes in a relationship. We'll ignore that for a second.
Yeah, go ahead and edit that out.
Yeah. So, anyways, Sunday I did 5 sets of. I did 5x5 with deadlift because I skipped my lift Saturday, I then followed it by 5 sets of 8 reps on squat, and that was miserable. I've never done back-to-back compounds like that, particularly squat and deadlift, where they're working a lot of the same. I was ready to throw up. That was the closest I've been to puking from lifting.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get into my hypertrophy. Like I made it like 20 minutes of hypertrophy.
Dude, I don't care what anyone says. Fucking 5 sets of 8 on the squat. That's hypertrophy work. Jesus Christ. I mean, it
is hypertrophy. I know that's not. It's closer to hypertrophy than it is strength training. But I like to, in my head, at least how I'm doing is I'm splitting it up where I'm doing PPL 6 days a week. And like, so my push day on Monday is quote unquote heavy, where I'm going max 5 reps. And trying to find a weight that I'm progressing on each Monday that feels good in the 5 set 3 to 5 rep range, and then on
Mhm.
Thursday, it's like 5 sets of 6 to 8 rep range.
Mm.
And that's how I've been splitting it up.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And to get some strength in, because my goal isn't purely strength. It's also just like maximizing the amount of muscle I put on my body.
Yeah,
I want to
just split the
combine best
difference.
of both worlds, and I know that this
Yeah,
isn't the fastest way to get stronger by any means. Probably not.
but who cares? It's the most fun
But
for you.
yeah, it works for me, and I know it works, and I don't want to take the time to like learn a new program. I've been lifting long enough. I just want to go do it. Anyways,
Oh, man, we didn't even talk about knees over toes, guy. Maybe next time.
God.
Dude, we didn't even hit on most of my fucking topic
I'm
list.
sorry.
That's fine.
I also have
No. It's
pauses
good. It's good.
where I go, and I take like 20 seconds to think about what I want to say. That's not good podcast content.
No, it means you're a true intellectual. You're not just spewing shit. You're not just saying things for the sake of saying things.
My ideas have been baked. They've been thrown in the oven and turned into a finished product.
Perfectly medium rare cooked. Maybe medium. Who knows?
I'm a medium.
Medium
I like it between medium and between medium rare.
Okay. All right.
I need this to go from like 5 levels to 10.
Wait, what?
On the steaks. So there's
sure.
Rare, medium, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
I need that to be 10.
Yeah, we need medium rare 0.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want the very middle of my steak to be so chewy that like it hasn't really been cooked.
Yeah.
But I want it to be more than just a little bit of pink.
Yeah.
That happy medium where it's like there's a lot of pink, but not really any red. That's kind of like my perfect zone.
Yeah. When you like order at a steakhouse, do you normally gravitate towards one side or the other?
I usually rock with medium just because a lot of the time when I order medium rare, I get like a fully rare, like what at least to me feels like it's just a rare steak.
Yeah.
And I just don't have it in me to deal with like calling over the waiter to be like, can you put this back on? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm fucking sneezing at the thought of it. But I don't know. I feel like ordering steaks at a restaurant is just, it almost never works because I feel like if I order medium rare, I get a rare steak. And if I order medium, I get a burnt steak.
I would say, yeah, dude, steaks are one of those things where there is nothing as quite as disheartening as a mediocre steak from like a crappy steak restaurant.
And you've been looking forward to a steak all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, I think that the worst is when you're going to like a steakhouse you've maybe been to a couple times and you like think of it as being good and they fuck it up. Like you like your steak medium and they just burn the shit out of it. It's just the worst.
So disappointing.
Because like you almost can't even eat it.
The disappointment is immeasurable. Have you ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse? Now that you're bulking, this is a super relevant question.
I should. The Noah, the Noah, what a he knows how to commit. He got protein poisoning.
What?
Steakhouse.
How much did he eat?
Story.
I don't think he has.
He got a fever because of how much meat he ate.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen. That's poisoning?
Yeah. Your body's like trying to process it. And it's too much to process. So I
just thought that was the meat sweats.
I think that if you get a literal fever, I think that qualifies as you've poisoned yourself. Poison doesn't have to be lethal.
I guess that's true.
Poison can just make you like shit yourself or something.
Anyway, my point is that when you move to wherever you're moving to, the nebulous East Coast area, we should go to fucking Fogo de Chao or whatever, because I know there's one in that city.
The world needs to know. I'm moving to Boston.
I'm moving to Boston, bitch. There's a pretty decent one near me as well, but it's kind of cucked. But
I'm not sure I can fucking afford to eat a steak dinner.
It's all right. I got this one. It's for the bulk. It's for the culture.
Jesus Christ, dude! I can't have everyone. I can't. The thing is, you can't actually order food for me because everyone will just assume we're dating.
No. You don't understand how this works. There's no ordering food, dude.
Oh, you're talking about a Brazilian steakhouse now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought you were
yeah.
talking about like going to a nice steakhouse.
No, no,
like,
no,
you
no, no,
order
no,
for
no.
me, and I'm
No,
like,
there's just the disc. No, I'm not fucking ordering for you. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
well, that's what I thought you were suggesting.
No, absolutely not. I can
Not nearly that secure.
I can
so.
I can subsidize your fucking your bulk
Shit.
for the
Oh
podcast
man.
content. Yeah,
Well,
but only
actually,
for the podcast
that
content.
might be a cost-effective way to get a lot of protein in. How much does it cost? How much do you pay to sit down at a Brazilian barbecue?
Depends on the place. I know the place near me is I think around like 40 or $50.
Oy, oy.
But you can eat a lot. I mean, a lot. You can sit there for like I've sat there for like 2 hours and just.
I'm sure from like a cost-effective standpoint, it's worth it. But like, as far as like bang for your buck. But the problem is like I want to just like evenly distribute my meat throughout the week and just eat a lot. Like just eating a shit ton one night isn't actually gonna like help that much.
What if you did the hardest training day ever before?
Yeah, like we would just have to like plan it in advance, and it would be like not like a special thing, but like
An
it would
event.
be a reward for. I would have to do like a 2 a day or something, and be hungry, and I don't know. Be like when they had country fried steak at school.
Dude, the country fried steak was not good.
It was. I have never had a meal in my life that brought me more happiness than country fried steak.
You and Noah are so fucking full of shit about this. You guys can delude yourselves all you want.
I'm not even bullshit. It's if I was served that meal at home, it wouldn't. It was the pleasure of being served a meal that tasted that good based off my expectations of like eating in the school cafeteria. It just made it the most enjoyable experience with food I've ever had in my life. It's country fried steak.
Country fried steak. God, you're so fucking wrong. I will say the London broil flank steak, dude, that shit was gas.
Sometimes it kind of slapped, yeah, because they actually didn't burn the shit out of it. Sometimes.
I know, it was pretty incredible, honestly. The sides, terrible.
Fucking country fried. Oh my god.
You are delusional. You're telling me a country fried this steak?
It's like, think about how good fried chicken is.
It's not even steak, dude.
Think about
it's hamburger.
Think about how much better. Okay. Listen to this logic and tell me where I'm wrong.
Okay.
Fried chicken is better than chicken, right?
It depends on the chicken. I reject your first premise.
Is there ever a context where you would enjoy plain chicken more than fried chicken?
What do you mean plain chicken?
Like a chicken breast or some shit. I don't know. Chicken wing.
All right, fine. I'll give you this premise. Yeah, sure. Okay, fine. You're right. Yeah.
Just from a pure like think about like your most childish way of judging food.
My pure hedonistic enjoyment of chicken.
Remove any knowledge of health from the.
Okay, sure. Yeah, fine. Yeah, plain chicken. Fried chicken is always better than plain chicken breast. Yes. Yes.
Premise B.
Okay.
Beef in any form is always better than chicken.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
Therefore, the pinnacle of meat delicacy is fried beef.
No, your conclusion doesn't follow from your premises.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Because
no, it doesn't.
Because frying, maybe I shouldn't even say fried chicken. I should say frying a meat necessitates that it's better.
No. Okay, so I disagree with that premise. That's where you've gone wrong. You were right about the chicken thing, but you're wrong about that. No, dude. If I were to take like a rack of ribs and like deep fry it,
I would enjoy it so much more. Ribs suck.
You're telling me you would prefer that? Are you serious? You hate ribs?
Enjoy ribs. Barbecue.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What
about like a good dry rub? Yeah, I don't really like saucy ribs either, but like a nice dry rub.
I've never had a rib that has been like, oh, like this is worth my time. If I'm gonna eat a meal, I want to spend the majority of my time eating, not the majority of my time figuring out where the fucking meat is.
Dude, it's not that hard. If you have it's not an impossible puzzle. If you have good ribs, the ribs are like 70+% meat.
Yeah, but like I could just have 100% meat.
Yeah, but part of the fun is you get to feel like a barbarian, like picking up the bones and going.
Dude, I get to pour like cum sauce all over my fried steak.
Oh, okay. So barbecue sauce is bad, but the fucking the fried steak cum sauce is good. Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
Probably the most tasty sauce I've ever had.
What's even well, I was going to ask you, what even is that sauce? I think it's gravy.
No, it's like it's meant to emulate gravy, but it's not gravy. It's like similar in texture. It's more similar in texture to gravy than sauce, but it tastes like sauce.
No, because they do gravy different in the Midwest. It's like a different thing.
Yeah, fucking what is it, like grits and gravy or something?
That's fucking like gravy, biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy is actually good though, if you get it from like a good place.
Rather just like I don't want to just pay for mush.
Dude, but
a good mush on a plate, I would go back and live in the medieval ages.
It's not mush. A good biscuit with like good gravy.
Yeah,
it's quality. It's quality stuff. Dude.
All it takes is like 3 stirs, and you've got a pile of mush.
Not if the biscuit has sufficient structural integrity.
But if it has sufficient enough structural integrity to make it through a couple of stirs, then it's too crunchy for me. I don't want my biscuit to be crunchy in any way, shape, or form.
Dude, you want to fucking have
my bread,
your cake and eat it too. No, because a good biscuit has a little bit of
cake and eating it as well.
Don't you have a pizza to go eat?
Yeah, I do.
Cut again. I win this round.
How's that a win?
Because I distracted you. You've been overcome by your carnal desire for pizza flesh.
The way we get the Noah on here is tell him we're going to talk about country fried steak for the entire podcast.
I would do a whole podcast. I would do the country fried steak special.
Country fried steak. Dude, we found it at the Walmart, like the one that they make.
Well, what do you mean? Like, does it like come out of a box?
Yeah, like it. You know how like big grocery stores, like they put their shittiest meat, like they don't even put it on the shelf. They've just got those massive like refrigerator tubs. Tangles in the middle.
Yeah.
There were just boxes, and it came in like it looked like you know when you buy like shitty like Bubba Burger patties where it's like it looks like a waffle box, but there's like 24 patties in there.
Yeah.
There were like those with the country fried steaks. It's like 50 country fried steaks in a box for $5.
Dude, how many did you buy?
No, we didn't buy any.
Are you serious? Why didn't you?
The Noah discovered it, and then COVID came.
Oh.
He literally discovered it and was like, dude, like we need to have a conversation about it, because if we do this, then we're not going to enjoy it the way we always have.
You're making a sacrifice.
Yeah. So we had to. Then COVID came. We couldn't make that decision.
God, there was so much epic shit that was going to kick off before COVID happened.
Yeah, dude.
That was peak.
I missed out on a senior spring of eating. Do you know how funny it would have been if the Noah and I, because I know you probably wouldn't be willing to commit to this, but had just committed to the entirety of senior spring every day. We were going to at minimum like what? Hit the pen 5 times, drink 1 beer, and eat 1 country fried steak. We had to each day.
I would honestly, I was so ready for a fucking wild senior spring, dude. I grinded that fucking thesis thing so hard. I was like, when we come back from, these 2 weeks off, I'm going to be so fucking ready. And we never came back.
Yeah. It's all work. And then nothing to fucking show for it, bro.
Nothing to fucking show for it, dude. Well, I mean, you could hit the pen 5 times a day, make yourself a country fried steak, and drink 1 beer every day for the next week.
Yeah, well, I don't have the pen, but I've been basically doing the rest of it.
Here you go.
Well, off to my fucking pizza.
All right.
It's been long enough.
All right. Well, until next time, everyone, don't forget to leave us money. Give us money, whatever.